Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. Today, we're going to be focusing on Psalm 69. When you read through the first few verses of this psalm, it grips you. Let me read some to you. Beginning in verse 1, it says, "Save me, O God, for the waters have threatened my life. I have sunk in deep mire where there is no foothold. I have come into deep waters where a flood overwhelms me. I am weary with my crying. My throat is parched. My eyes fail while I wait for my God. Those who hate me without cause are more than the hairs of my head. Those who would destroy me are powerful, being my enemies wrongfully. I am forced to restore what I did not steal. O God, you know my folly. My wrongs are not hidden from you." You know, when I read these verses and I picture the person crying them out from their soul, it makes me just picture desperation. And so, my thought for you and for I today is, when was the last time that you desperately cried out to God? Maybe you were feeling hopeless. Maybe you were feeling overwhelmed. Maybe you were caught in a precarious situation, a traumatic situation of danger, or maybe it was something very different. Maybe it was an emotional struggle where you felt imprisoned in your own mind with a panic attack or something else. But in that moment, did you cry out to God? You see, as humans, we face desperate moments often. But in our desperation, where do we turn? Do we turn to people for comfort and wisdom? Do we turn to our world, to the leadership in our world? Do we turn to knowledge and books and education? Do we turn to our resources and our money to escape the problems in our life? Or in our desperate moments, do we run to God? The psalmist here clearly is looking to God for their strength and for their deliverance in this moment. Now, this is it's a longer psalm. But one thing that is said about this specific psalm is that it's messianic. And what does that mean? It means it foretells of the Messiah. Yes, David here was speaking of his own precarious situation that he was facing, but we also see inklings, prophecy of the Messiah and what he would face. In other psalms, like for example, Psalm 22, we hear a messianic psalm of Jesus's physical suffering that he would go through in that point in the future, but now in our point in the past, what he would face on this earth. But here in Psalm 69, it actually speaks much more to Jesus' suffering emotionally and spiritually. And as you read through this psalm, I want to challenge you with that thought. Yes, apply it to your own situation. Yes, find connections to your own heartbeat. However, also look for those nuances of how this is describing the Messiah that was to come and the suffering that he would go through in order to fulfill what he was called to do, which was to create a way for you and I to be saved. This psalm is full of rich truth, rich prophecy, and rich fulfillment. And so dive into it slowly and see what you can learn from it. I want to read verses 13 through 19 to you before we close today. Oopsie. It says, "But as for me, my prayer is to you, O Lord, at an acceptable and opportune time. O God, in the greatness of your favor and in the abundance of your loving kindness, answer me with truth. Rescue me from the mire and do not let me sink. Let me be rescued from those who hate me and from the deep waters. Do not let the floodwater overwhelm me, nor the deep waters swallow me up. Answer me, O Lord, for your loving kindness is sweet and good and comforting. According to the greatness of your compassion, turn to me." I love in the midst of this desperation how David reminds us that God is our God, that his loving kindness, his grace, his mercy, his comfort, his peace, his love is available to us, that he provides hope, that he can give you peace in the middle of a storm. As we talked about earlier this week, how he can do miracles and create breakthroughs when it seems like there's no hope. And so go to God today, trusting him, no matter what circumstances you face, that he would be your first response, that he would be your hiding place, that he would be your comfort, and that you would feel safe in the shelter of his wing. He is here. Are you going to him? Hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for another daily dose for spiritual growth.